Hello everybody. I was working on some educational materials and came across this presentation. A number of years ago, the American College of Phlebology, now the American Vein and Lymphatic Society Annual Congress, was held in Austin, Texas. I was the program chair of the ultrasound section, and by way of introduction and welcome, I put together this presentation. Now, I know you're probably going to say, what does a bat have to do with the phlebology world? Hang with me. Let's go over a few bat facts. I was always fascinated by bats ever since I was a small kid. They're the only mammals able to fly, and I hope you appreciated in that slow motion video the variable shape of their wings. They're actually much more closely related to humans and other primates than they are to rodents. They can catch as many as 1,200 mosquito-sized insects per hour. They have a super fast metabolism. They could digest an entire banana in 20 minutes. They're really pretty safe. There's actually less than 10 cases of rabies contracted from North American bats in the last 50 years. So the fact they carry rabies is kind of an old wives' tale. In fact, bats are exceptionally clean. There's also some research that their anticoagulation found in vampire bats may be superior to what we have today. Of course, why we're interested in bats in the ultrasound world is their ability to echolocate. This was actually first suspected in 1793 by Lazzaro Spallanzani, who discovered that bats were unaffected if they couldn't see, but became very disoriented if they could not hear. Well, by the 1920s, it was suggested that bats actually navigate by hearing, not by sight. In the 30s, Donald Griffin discovered that bats produce ultrasonic sounds. He actually closed their ears and found that bats could no longer navigate. So we know that bats use echolocation to locate the tiny flying insects, determining the location, distance, size, density, and movement of those targets. So what about those ultrasonic frequencies? They actually range between 20 and 200 kilohertz. Actually, bats produce a complicated sequence of sound, not just a single sound, and they combine constant frequencies also with a modulated or variable frequency. The low-frequency sound travels further, while, as we know, high-frequency sound has increased resolution for more detailed information about the prey that they're interested in. So how do bats make these ultrasonic sounds? We'll look at them from the perspective of our ultrasound transducer. Most bats produce sounds by contracting their larynx, similar to us, although a few species do click their tongues. The sounds are emitted through the mouth or nostrils. They actually have fleshy horseshoe or leaf-like structures that function as an amplifier as well as focusing that ultrasonic beam. Similar to our beamformers. Actually, bats are very loud. How loud, you might ask? Between 50 and 120 dB. You'd be holding your ears if this was in the audible range. Let's look at bats from the perspective of an ultrasound receiver. Turns out they're very special. They actually have exceptional concentration of receptor cells in their ears and brain that allows them to be sensitive to very, very tiny frequency changes. And they continuously adapt to receive the reflected ultrasound without going deaf. Remember how loud bats are? The middle ear muscle contracts to separate the three bones, which can serve to reduce hearing sensitivity. And this contraction occurs approximately 6 milliseconds before the ultrasound is emitted, and then relaxes once again 2 to 8 milliseconds later in order to receive that small echo returning from that insect. Pretty special. So let's talk about the frequencies involved. Now for ultrasound, we typically use a frequency somewhere around 5 megahertz, give or take, depending on the structure of interest. At 5 megahertz, our wavelength is approximately 3/10 of a millimeter. And we know from our physics that the ultimate theoretical resolution is one wavelength. We can only resolve 3/10 of a millimeter. Now in practice we know it's probably significantly greater than that, but that's our ultimate theoretical resolution. How about bat frequencies? As I mentioned, they use between 20 and 200 kilohertz, which actually results in a wavelength of around 17 meters in air. We know that the ultimate theoretical resolution is one wavelength, 17 meters, yet a bat can resolve an insect measuring a millimeter. How is that even possible? Well, we don't really know for sure, but we believe the secret lies in a highly specialized receiver. The bats have large variations in the sizes, shapes, folds, and wrinkles inside the ear, and these aid in the reception and the funneling of the returning echoes. So to begin to understand these animals may allow ultrasound engineers to reach the next imaging breakthrough, that is focusing not only the transmit, but really a focus of the returning ultrasound. So what does all this have to do with Austin, Texas? Well, the Ann W. Richards Congress Avenue Bridge in Austin, Texas, as it crosses the Colorado River, is home to the largest urban bat community in the world. It's estimated over 1 million individual bats live under this bridge, and it has actually become somewhat of a tourist attraction where every evening about dusk, thousands of people will line up to watch the nightly exit of these bats out from underneath the bridge. If you ever have the opportunity to do so, it's well worth it.
Hey.